Why all the secrecy in Weston? September 4th, 2025, 12:15 p.m. in the town of Turin. Just to our north, the town hall is open to the public to stop on in and gain access to records. All the town records that one could possibly consume in an hour, a day, a week, or in a lifetime. However, you won't experience anything like that. Availability of public records the town of Turin supplies to its tax-paying public in the town of Weston. Why? Because in the town of Weston, it's all about protecting those individuals that have been making poor decisions for the taxpayer in Weston for the last 20 years. It's all about these folks protecting themselves until they leave office in December, hoping that, at least until then, the pressure will be off. Keep everything silent in the town of Weston, even if it's been poor leadership and mismanagement of the town, its records, its laws, its policies, its buildings, resources, and in fact, the freedoms of its taxpayers. Don't believe us? Ask the Comptroller's office in Albany how bad it has been here in Weston for the last 20 years or more. Then, ask the town to see the financial records of the town by account. Foil that info, and what will you get back from the town of Weston? What will you receive? Nothing. You see, in the town of Weston, it's all about protecting reputations. Reputations that could be soiled by the past 20+ years of poor quality management of the town's resources, leading to its current state of affairs, which is, as well, off limits of access by the taxpayers in Weston who financially support those secretive actions. But it's more than just the past that's of concern. It's poor decisions for the public moving into the future as well, all of those decisions pertaining to the taxpayer here in Weston. In Weston, it seems a common goal to keep the public taxpayer out of the business of the board, keep the doors to the town hall locked, provide no open hours to the public at the town hall for town business or to review any records whatsoever. According to the last town attorney, who recently resigned his post after too many years here, in our opinions, nobody gets nothing. That, as recorded on video in a public setting at the town hall. In Weston, the taxpayer is kept away from access to the very public records they are allowed access to by state law, and by that same law they are allowed to request via FOIL. But, in Weston, the town clerk and FOIL records access officer Melissa Rowland's position seems to have been taken over by the town board. In fact, managed by the town board. It's possible as well. The elected town clerk has gone rogue, in a process of her own making, in order to negate public FOIL requests, failing to follow New York state law with respect to FOIL or open meetings laws, and in that process, the public are not being given that required by FOIL access. What puts that possibility of the rogue process at bay is that in New York state FOIL law, there are safety measures in place. That safety valve, if you will, is a backup to the clerk's office, the FOIL appeals manager. That position takes FOIL denials or improperly responded to FOIL requests and provides oversight to those decisions, allowing the public an additional review for any FOIL that is denied by a town clerk or records access officer. The problem? In the town of Weston, the FOIL appeals manager is also the town's supervisor, indeed a member of the very town board that is at odds with the public that position serves. So where is the bottleneck in Weston? The FOIL appeals manager fails to respond to FOIL denials, as well as the clerk's office failing to provide for FOIL as per the FOIL law in New York State. So, if the situation exists where the town board has basically taken over the elected position of the clerk's office, dictating what is answered by FOIL and what is not, and the clerk's office not being allowed to follow the process by law, as provided to the position of records access officer by New York State FOIL law, then why hasn't the town clerk gone to the Attorney General to state this process is being experienced in the town of Weston, within her position as clerk and records access manager for the town, and that this process is negatively impacting the public taxpayer in Weston? Is this possible overreaching act by the town board of illegally managing the elected clerk's position, as if that clerk's position were an employee in the town and not elected, happening because of what appears to be the fear of this board as to what the public may find in that open FOIL discovery process as provided for under FOIL? Given that defined and defunct process with regard to FOIL and open meetings law process in Weston, it's much easier to make the connections to the same kinds of poor decision-making and self-serving processes of representation that have been experienced by the public taxpayer for the last 20+ years. Given these very same types of processes, having been implemented and supported by members of the current board, past board members, their derivative and appointed boards, and positions, both present and past. It's easier to make the connections here. In fact, it's much easier with this example of misrepresentation of the public via the poor performance of the town, with respect to foil, to understand why we are where we are, and how that was eventually uncovered in Weston, while the boards here have done and are doing everything in their power to prevent this exposure in the town of Weston, according to the actions and processes of this town board and its appointed boards, as recorded and investigated over the last almost 3 years here. The less you, the public taxpayer, know about what this secretive board and its ancillary appointed boards and positions do here in the steadily decaying and maintenance-starved town hall, the better. The slimy underbelly of the town's failure to communicate continues on and on. A codes enforcement position that has never made a report to the town via a public board meeting, either personally or via the town board, as communication of any of the functions of that position provided to the public. Records that are never shared. A planning board that never provides a viable agenda for the public to be apprised of, provided to the public either previous to a meeting or during that meeting, so the public can decide to attend or not, or just to prepare for that meeting, as the board members are given advance access to prepare for that meeting. A zoning board that states over and over again that they will post various information on the website for the public to have advance notice of, in order for the public to provide viable public hearing comments to the zoning board, for public hearings held by the zoning board, while none of those requested documents are posted, or are posted after the public hearing have already passed, negating their need to be placed online for the public to use for their comments in that already held public hearing. A building committee that has been hosted by the town of almost 25 years, and not one of these meetings pre-June 2025 designated as open to the public, nor has the public been provided with any minutes or history of the results of those meetings in that 25 years. And yet the town board wants the taxpayer to pay $3 to $4 million for the results of those never before published, nor publicly notified and attended meetings for 25 years. The truth here in Weston may not be very palatable, but continuing to drink from the putrid swamp of self-interests and foul judgment that represents the current or the past here by the public taxpayers, while not being given anything that is representative of information in that process, is nothing short of ignorance. It's either that or accepting the act of continuing to be considered prey in the process of being critical of our servants in their pre-planned future that will be delivered to the taxpayer here in the form of stifled freedoms, higher taxes, less infrastructure, and further retaliation and retribution. Be prepared as well for more of the secretive process of the locking out of the public to the very rights of information and communication that the Constitution and the laws of our country and the state of New York provides to the taxpayer in Weston and indeed in the country by law.